Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much. I'm very, very pleased to be here. Hello, welcome. I think today I met a few people that I was working with for 2 years, and this is the first time we meet in person, which is quite amazing. So I'm Itamar. So I'm Itamar here. That's how I look like. Hello, hello. And I'm a tour guide from Jerusalem for 15 years. In the last 2 years, I was mainly guiding virtually. Met a lot of friends during this period, and from the great ladies on our Zoom screen. You know Elisa before COVID. She's a travel agent. She'll introduce herself. But all the rest, you know, I got a lot of new friends here, including Anna here. Ola Hadasha, maybe a round of applause here for my colleague. So really, I'm very pleased to have you. And this panel is very, very important for me, as I think we made a significant progress in the field of virtual tourism in the last 2 years. And there's much to say about it. Just earlier before us, there was a panel of bloggers and influencers, as it's called. And I think that tour guides and travel agents can be influencers as they are, and they don't really need to spend so much money and effort, you know, on hiring different people. They can do it themselves, and virtual tourism actually enables that. So we want to start with our friends here. Annie, Annie is from Canada. Please introduce yourself and maybe share something with us. So you can share it with the sound and tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a wow moment. That's the first round will be a round of introduction. We'll start with Annie. Go ahead.
Thanks, Itamar. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Chemilian, and I am the Chief of Staff at Heygo. In short, we have an entire network of tour guides from about over, I think, 95 countries that live stream their tours on Heygo. I've got a short video to show you what I mean. So just bear with me. I'm going to share my screen to show you what I mean. Dun, 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 dun. And then share sound.
I'll just say that I work with Heygo. Anna here is working with Heygo, same with Mateja. So this is a very big virtual tourism company, and we're going to enjoy the video. And if you have any problem, I have it on my computer too. I can.
Can you put it on? It looks like it's not letting me because I need to access something. If you can change that, that would be fantastic.
You have permission.
Thank you.
Supposed to have authorization to share.
It's the dramatic pause.
Okay. לא יודע מה יכול להיות. ראיתי שאליסה התחילה. בואו פשוט נשים את זה, אפילו אם זה בלי השיתוף. Okay. And we'll put the video, but I don't think we're going to share the screen. It'll be fine. Also, that is stuff. פשוט להפעיל אותו גם. למה? לא רואים את זה פה? אוקיי, סבבה. היא שמה משהו בצ'אט. נראה לי אם תפתח מהצ'אט. כן, כן, הנה פה, שמה משהו. יופי.
לא, אז יפתח לי את זה בטלפון פה.
הבנתי. אולי יותר קל לשתף את הדפדפה. לא נורא. לא, יש.
Itamar, can you just click the YouTube link in the chat? Is that possible on your end?
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah. תוסיף רק, לא, the sound.
Perfect. Oh, no sound.
Sure.
Okay, I will
Fair
do.
sound.
Or Elisa, maybe you can share it?
No.
When you share videos, you have to share the sound. In the share page, you have to share sound on the left side of the page of the sharing page.
Okay. Annie, you're not able to share anything?
No, it's not letting me on my end.
Okay, no big deal. But guys, if you are at home, then you have a beautiful video of the great guides out there of Heygo all over the world. And sorry, guys, here in the hall. But Annie, maybe say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, you know what? There we go. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'll just give the voiceover. All right. So apologies. It's supposed to be a 2-minute intro. That was definitely more than 2 minutes. Long story short, the video is a bunch of snippets of people from all around the world, everywhere from Taiwan, Jerusalem. We've got a guide that is streaming himself hiking up Iceland when the volcano was erupting. And what you can see is an interaction, basically a community of individuals and users that interact with a guide that's essentially live streaming either a tour that they normally do, either a part of their life that they are, whether it's a stroll in Paris around noon and casually someone's live streaming that and showing what's happening in real life, to a community of users that are essentially from all around the world. And users basically interact with tour guides via chat. So it's a one-way video stream. So it's always the tour guide kind of being a part of that interaction. And there's a live chat function, just like how Zoom works with, you know, chat or messenger or like video chat, live streaming works on Facebook. And basically users get to ask questions to guides and also leave tips in real time. So Heygo is a tip supported community. It's free to join. There's no cost for guides to join. There's no cost for users to join. Essentially, we keep our interface open and we develop product improvements for guides by taking a percentage of tips that is basically collected on the platform as a whole to basically have 40 employees and such to keep this kind of engine going and keep iterating on the virtual tourism field. In terms of my wow moment, so virtually there's like a ton, like I mentioned, the volcano exploding and someone hiking up and live streaming, that was pretty incredible. But for me, we actually had one of our Ukrainian guides live stream their journey from Kiev to Budapest on their journey to becoming a refugee, essentially, during this entire conflict right now with Russia. So she's given tours in different cities with basically as she's kind of along the way.
You will see the stories interactive. You can ask me any question you have.
London tour guide.
You're about to embark on a journey through ancient Egypt.
We are live from Paris.
Wherever you are in the wild.
This is one of the things we love to do with our kids.
Your man in Iceland.
Hello, this is Fran from Pamplona.
From a very special exhibition. This is the first time ever I'm taking you here, the Heygoers.
We are here on volcano. So there are some unexplored adventures.
This snow is gorgeous. Paragliding.
Oh, that was a good wave.
We have these things in Amsterdam called coffee shops.
That's one of our contributions to the world.
Perfect timing.
Absolutely stunning.
One of the 7 wonders of the world.
Once again, we wish you luck and all the prosperity in your life. And until next time, bye-bye.
So you just saw all the snippets. Thanks, Itamar.
Whoever shared that screen, that's great. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Anything else or?
Yeah. Just to finish, the support from the Heygo community has been truly amazing to witness. Seeing our Ukrainian guides do her documentation of her journey from Ukraine to Budapest, and seeing an online community come together is actually kind of magical. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm well over my 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Mateja, go ahead, dear.
Hello, everyone. Nice to have a chance to greet you from Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia. Yes, Itamar, I am a tourist guide here tour manager, destination consultant, also tourist guides trainer. However, in the last 2 years, mainly delivering online guided tours, and I'm really impressed what a big world this is. So if you ask me for the wow moment of the last 2 years, you know, when I started to deliver these virtual online guided tours, I was always looking for the target market. Who should I inform what I am doing in this lockdown period, or let's say in this low part of tourism? And I was contacting many ex-travelers, offering different topics and so on and so on. However, when all these platforms started to engage us, and when we've seen how many travelers, online travelers, are joining me, it was for me like, you know, the story of 3 pigs, little pigs, that they had to leave their home and then they climb on the top of the hill. And then they said, wow, what a big world this is. Because, you know, before, when we were delivering tours, we had, I don't know how many, 10, 15, 20, 30 people with us. But now suddenly daily joined us, I don't know, 200, 300 people with different backgrounds, different wishes. And suddenly we could get also travelers for those little special topics that we always studied, because, you know, we tourist guide, before we get a certificate, we need to study a lot of topics, right? But then when you deliver the tour, we just, you know, share with them maybe 10 or 15%. And now finally we could also share those specialities that we liked so much and that we were good so much. So that's my wow moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's your, okay, great, thanks. I'm moving to Spain, to our friend Liana.
Hola. So my name is Liana Katzir, and I'm a tour guide and CEO of Bercelola Tours, which basically provides tours in Hebrew for Israelis or Jews all over the world. So actually I started to do the virtual tours with the pandemic, which is 2 years ago. Actually, it started as when we were all like in our homes and we could not go outside, and I was without a job and I was getting crazy, and I just started to do like those live tours, but from my own house, without even go out, just like speaking about different aspects of the cultures of Spain. And then after 2 months, I bought a gimbal and I started doing tours from all over the city. And actually, after 2 years, I can say that I have a lot of followers. And now that Israelis can come to Barcelona, so yeah, people are telling me, wow, we saw your virtual tours for the last 2 years and it's amazing, and you made us to want to come to Barcelona. And so actually, yeah, that's what I'm doing for the last 2 years. But now I'm starting to do also the normal tours with normal people with me. But I'm still doing the virtual tours because I do believe that it doesn't have to be instead, it can be both. So yeah, that's
wow moment. Give me your wow moment in Barcelona.
My wow moment. There's a lot. I don't know. I think that actually one of the main things that I noticed is that, especially now with the pandemic, that older people cannot travel. They were really looking for like traveling online. And yeah, I had some really emotional stories also with people who are about to die, and they really wanted like private virtual tours just to feel, you know, like traveling before they're dying. And
the last journey, yeah.
It's a really sad story, but actually really emotional, because this platform can actually give this experience to some people who cannot travel. And
I think there's not a single person in the room that doesn't know this, that works in virtual tourism, didn't experience that. So thank you very much, Liana.
Yeah.
Moving to Camille and then Elisa. Camille?
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hi,
Very
dear.
nice. Very nice to see you all. I am Camille Scannell. I'm the Vice President of Experience at Beeyonder. We're located in Boston, Massachusetts. Just to give you a quick overview about Beeyonder, we are a virtual travel marketplace. We have about 364 virtual tours on our platform. And our founder, Brittany Palmer, her vision and her mission with Beeyonder was to provide equal access to travel opportunities for those who are physically or mentally disabled, seniors who can no longer travel anymore, or those who just cannot financially afford to travel to these destinations in person. And due to her being a bilateral amputee, she really understands and can relate to some of the struggles that people can go through with not being able to travel to some of these destinations. So we're about 1.5 years old. We've found great success in the B2B market. We work quite a bit with corporate companies for team bonding, virtual conferences, and we also do quite a bit in the senior space, so senior living facilities, councils on aging in the United States and Canada. And my wow moment has been realizing that the corporate companies will pay quite a bit of money for an hour of a guide's time. So for me, it was extremely satisfying to be able to provide such large payouts to guides for so little of their time. And the amount of virtual tours that we're doing in the corporate sector is only growing, which is amazing for all of these guides who are still struggling in countries where tourism still hasn't picked up yet.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Camille. My friend Elisa, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Itamar. And regards, welcome from Dubai. Thank you, Itamar, and it's great to be here and to be participating with all of you on this important panel. My name is Elisa Moed, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Eshed Incoming. And just a little background, Eshed is one of the largest and most renowned tour operators in Israel. We actually have done, we do a lot of incentive tours. We've done Israel's largest incentive program 3 years ago, 5,000 people with WSB through Central Holidays. We do a lot of other group and VIP and nonprofit and educational tours and iTreks and serve many people from all around the world. I have to say that once, we had so many people that were supposed to come on travel to Israel back, starting obviously the moment, COVID hit in early March 2020, and had to cancel many, many programs. And I took the initiative of starting almost immediately a virtual travel platform that would serve initially clients that were just disappointed. And I'm just going to kind of share my screen here for a second, if it works. Otherwise, I'll just walk through it. And no, it's not. Is this it? No, this is not it. So I'm not going to share my screen. I'm just going to talk through it. So we started a platform of sharing virtual tours. Initially, it started off as an Easter program. We thought, we had a lot of people. We knew we serve an awful lot of pilgrims from around the world and other Christian travelers, and we really wanted to do something to connect people to Israel. So developed a virtual program. I actually spoke to Itamar almost right away and said, Itamar, we've got people that are really disappointed. They can't come to Israel. They've been planning their lifelong dream. Is this something that you can do? Can you help facilitate a virtual tour program? And he immediately said, you know what, I've been working on stuff. So we collaborated and came up with a program and then started weekly programs that people could register for and sign up for. And we reached individuals honestly from around the world, primarily from the US, but people joined from all over the place. We partnered with the Ministry of Tourism. We partnered with the Israel Embassy. And we partnered with organizations, with educational institutions, the Israel Education Ministry. And to your point, we also worked with many, many senior homes across the United States, every single month providing them a program. Again, just to your point, to be able to connect people who may never have an opportunity to come to Israel. But I have to say, one of our real wow moments in all of this, we knew we were connecting people. We knew we were providing people a way to kind of feel Israel, and it's really, I'm talking as a destination that really speaks to people's faith and connects people in a very impactful and meaningful way that touches their lives. So when they can't come, it's a horrible loss. We did a program and 1,500 people registered for it. So many that we had to actually do 2 different Zoom sessions. We couldn't believe it because it was a Christmas program. We wanted to connect people, and obviously not everybody showed up. But at the end of the day, half those people did show up, and we were just blown away by the comments that we got. That they came from, I think it was over 22 countries, and it is really a way to bring people in, to educate them, and to allow them an opportunity to learn and get excited about a destination, even if they're never going to come, and hopefully they will come one day.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. So Eyal and Abe from Dive are here with me in the hall. So if you go.
Hi, everybody. So you're opening my presentation. I will shortly review that. My name is Eyal Gigi. I'm a co-CEO of a company called Cvid. We are the world's biggest multimedia content audio guide providers all around the world. We do have 8 subsidiaries at the US, UK, Germany, Australia, Japan, Taiwan, and of course a large activity here in Israel. Well, it's not the biggest secret, but COVID hits us dramatically when it started, at least for the first 12 months. We have established together, me and my partner, Eb Troit, a very challenging and interesting platform for virtual tours. What we actually did at the very beginning is trying to simulate an actual visit on site, meaning a guide leading a group. Oh, great. Great. Here you can see very shortly the sample of various sites all around the world. So I started saying that we have developed an interactive virtual system, which we actually scan various sites in Israel. The guide is leading the groups, yet the group members, this is not the share screen, the group members can tour the site by themselves. So this gives the guide and our platform various options for interactive usage with the guides for tours, for kids and adults, playing games, looking for information, and many more attractive options. We have started working mainly with evangelist market, which I will describe shortly what we have done so far. We'll discuss a bit later about our concept, but basically we are one of the world's biggest content, audio, multimedia, 3D models. So we combine that into our virtual tools, especially audio and 3D models. You can take an old temple and put it at the right place where it used to be, and many, many other features. For my wow moment, Itamar, can you play this pre-recorded audio? This will explain with no additional words from my side, one of the wow moments that we face.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Okay, until they will find this audio file. Oh, okay. Okay, until they will open the file, which I'm sure they will do it very soon, I would like to add more that main business focus or business model so far is B2B. We are aiming for large organizations like the World Zionist organizations, big communities and semi-communities of evangelists worldwide, biggest museums in the world.
Brother Abe, this is Sister Donna Mitchum. I have told Sister Joyce that I want to
Okay,
go to.
no problem. One of the biggest clients that we have worldwide with regards to virtual tours is the Museum of the Bible in Washington, which Abe will explain a bit shortly about our activity in general and the evangelist market. Abe, please.
I'm Abe Truitt, the Assistant Director of Dive. I want to say from our wow moment that we were wanting to share with you is an audio clip that we had from one of our participants, Donna Gelé. She actually attended one of the first beta tours that we had ever tried out. And she said to us in very, very explicit detail, I cannot go to the land of Israel due to my physical disabilities. And you and your platform has for the first time presented to me what the land of Israel looks like. I feel like I've achieved a bucket list goal in my life. And just that moment to hear her say that also at the beginning, during our beta trials and things like that, right at that stage, it gave us the drive to push this platform to where it is today with all the different visitors.
Okay, so yeah. Let's move forward. I'll just say that my personal wow moment was in the last few months on Heygo. I gave a virtual tour for blind people. It was extremely descriptive. It was about the temple in Jerusalem. And I have few reviews on my Heygo channel from these blind people that were, wow, like we actually feel like we're there. So really virtual tourism is going to be something that will be with us for a very long time. עידו, איך אני מבטל את השיתוף מסך? משום מה הוא לא מצליח להגיע עם מחדום. רק כדי שנראה אותם. זהו, אנחנו סיימנו עם השיתופים. Okay, we passed the technical hard part, I must say. It took us a little longer than we wanted, but it's fine. I want to start with the first question. I'll start with Camille and Elisa about the audience. We kind of talked about it in the introduction. So what is the audience of virtual tourism? Many people were very skeptical in the first, let's say 6 months of the pandemic. They thought we're just playing around and they said, okay, it's going to be over, okay? But if in Israel we have 4.5 million tourists in 2019, we're not talking about these numbers anymore, 4.5 million, 5 million, 6 million. It's not the numbers, it's not a scale we're talking about. So I want to start with with Camille, and then we'll move to Elisa. Camille as a member, as a vice president of experience in beeyonder, and Elisa as a travel agent, as an actual income agent. So let's start with you, Camille. Who's the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly that varies depending on the platform and who you're really looking to target. In beeyonder's case, we've really put all of our focus into the B2B market. Corporations looking to do team bonding experiences because most corporate companies have gone to a virtual or hybrid environment. And studies have shown that the majority of corporate companies will remain that way. So there will continuously be a need for virtual events and virtual team bonding experiences across corporate companies. We've also found that senior living facilities, councils on aging, et cetera, which I had mentioned previously, that is a very large audience for us. However, with that, there is also a large audience of people who can travel and will travel when they are able to and the pandemic subsides. And these people are taking our virtual tours as a way to familiarize themselves and gain connections in these locations prior to traveling. So something super satisfying has been connecting people with virtual tour guides who then make connections and purchase in-person tours while they're on the ground in that country. So I've seen that happening quite a bit, especially as travel has been picking up in the past couple of months.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Camille. Moving to you, Elisa. The audience, tell us, people are thinking it's just a gig, just social media, but I think you can tell us more than many others. Yeah. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Yes.
Yeah, so I have to say that It's an excellent question because most people think that it's, really just, a way to see a place, and it's just for, individuals looking to tour around the world. And we have found that it is much more than that. What originally started as just really connecting clients to Israel, whether they were individuals or groups, has morphed into something so much larger. For instance, we talked about senior living communities, of course, people who will never travel. Companies. I'm looking at markets that are coming to Israel. We have a very strong faith-based market. So we're seeing significant demand from churches and ministries, Christian organizations and synagogues. We do synagogues monthly. We have many Jewish federations that are coming because they are seeking to connect their donors and their communities to projects all around Israel and to people and to current events. So it may not be pure tourism, but it's really about keeping people informed and keeping people connected. As we know here, the online entities, the ones that are dealing with travel, such as the Heygos and the Amazons of the world, Expedias are all doing tourism virtually. So they're they're another audience that people like you can serve directly. We're finding that mission planners and tour leaders, when they're considering Israel as a destination, are very interested in seeing it virtually. So we use it also as a marketing tool at this point. We are bringing in many people on Zooms to be able to show them the country and to get their, not just themselves, but perhaps later on after they've formed a group, to get the group to come online and really see the destination, meet their tour guide, have their question and answers, having their questions answered. And you know what? It's very important, especially in probably in all destinations, but also in Israel, because then people it takes some of the fear out of that travel purchase, out of I'm going 6,000 miles away. What do I expect? What can I expect in terms of, explaining the COVID safety regulations, in terms of actually seeing sites and meeting the guide and getting their questions answered? I think one of the really fun things that we've done, that we've discovered, is that it's been a great way to connect people through special events. We've actually had a lot of fun doing birthday parties for individuals, people who have always wanted to come and can't, and they get their family together, or it's been a surprise and they're taking their family to Israel. They're taking them to get baptized on the Jordan River. I believe we did one together, Itamar, which showed people, actually, we took the actual honoree and put him in the Jordan River. We took pictures and put him and his wife in different places and actually built a whole, Footsteps of Jesus program, but with him as part of it. So there's a lot of ways that you can be very clever, very, I think, clever really, and use the virtual platform to connect people and to reach out to so many different communities. And I think it's endless. I think that the virtual can reach so many different markets, and we're excited to be doing just that.
Anyone else, Mateja or Liana? Do you want to add something about the audience? I mean, it's very first month of the pandemic. I realized, okay, virtual tourism is not few millions of people. It's hundreds of millions of people. Basically, everyone with an internet connection that speaks my language, Hebrew, English, or Arabic, can relate to me. So how do you find that? Mateja, let's start maybe.
Well, at Itamar, I couldn't agree more with you. Really, everybody who has internet is our target market. So it's unbelievable. As you already said, pre-tour consultation, business to business, team gatherings. Then, for example, also school trips, field trips, because for these kind of activities, you need quite a lot of money. Now schools can afford themselves more field trips because, we are bringing them virtually or online. Then, as Elisa already mentioned, family gatherings. We need to know that now family members are working all around the globe. One is in Singapore, the other one is in New York, the third one is in Tel Aviv, but they would like to celebrate maybe Mother's Day or something, or birthday, as Elisa said. So it's enormous, and this is something that we need to be aware of. So in fact, we don't have enough time to please everyone, if I'm honest.
Any few words, maybe Liana, Annie, Eyal, maybe you want to
I just want to, first of all, I agree with what was said here. I just want to add shortly that virtual tours, what we have found is an excellent way or platforms for people that are seeking and would like to explore more. We got so many testimonies of people that says, yes, I've been to Caesarea even twice. I went off the bus, it was hot. The guide explained to me a few words and then I'm back to the bus. I did not actually understand what it is all about with orders in Caesarea. After taking a virtual tour, the aspect, the concept has changed. So indeed, this is a great platform with an endless audience. Actually, there is no competitors here, as I see it. We are all partners because the market is so huge.
They just said that next time you're speaking, just keep the microphone a bit away from you. Yeah, that's all. Okay, thank you very much. I'm moving to the next question. And by the way, guys, if you want to stay for the open questions later at the end of the hour, that's fine. So the next question is I'll start with Liana and with Mateja. Do you think virtual tourism has a role in recovering the global tourism industry? Okay, and if you want to add something about the relationship between private sector and a public sector in the process of recovering, you're welcome. I think Liana has a different take than Mateja. That's why I want to confront you too. I'll start with Liana. So there you go.
Okay. So in my opinion, like I said before, I don't think virtual tourism can be instead of the real thing, but I think it could be used for like preparations if you want to like prepare your tour or I don't know, plan your trip. So it's a way to plan your trip. I can tell you from my experience that some of my colleagues, tour guides in Barcelona, didn't like the idea of what I'm doing because they thought that virtual tourism, it's like in the end will make people don't want to come to travel in Barcelona because then it's like, okay, everything is online. I didn't agree, obviously, but now I see that people are actually coming to Barcelona and telling me, yeah, I mean, they tell me you made me want to come even more. And in the first chance I could come on a plane, so I came to Barcelona because I was watching you for the last 2 years. So yeah, I think this is the best thing that happened to me because now I am really exploded with tourists coming to Barcelona only from watching me. For the last 2 years, but I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm still dedicating the time to do virtual tours also for the public or the audience that cannot come traveling, if it's the older people or whatsoever. But yeah, it's not instead, it's with. I think this is the whole picture.
And Liana, just a question. Do you have any connection with the authorities, like the public sector? Or is it only your private thing and that's it? Like
no, I have no connection, but I have to say that many people told me that I have to work in the embassy because I'm doing a really great job. Because yeah, in the last 2 years I was like showing Barcelona to everyone, and yeah, but no, I have no connection to the public sector. No.
Thank you very much, Liana. And from you to Mateja, which I think have a different take on that. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, I do agree, with Liana about this promoting our work, our job. And I also have to say that last year, my first travelers were actually those ones who followed me online. So, like my colleagues, they were without a job and they were waiting the groups to come. And we already managed to deliver tours. So this is a great promotion. And I think also that now our role, the role of tourist guides shifted, because before we delivered tours on the spot, that means on site, when tourists or visitors already decided to come and visit us. However, now our role is in the marketing. So that means that we are working on their bucket list. We need to make our online guided tours so attractive. The topics need to be so great that they will say, oh, I want to come there. I want to see this in person. So definitely virtual tourism is helping real tourism to grow. So I think it should work hand in hand. And I also got those comments that we should be paid from the destination because we are doing the destination marketing. Yes, and I am trying to reach municipalities in Slovenia somehow to present them that this is working and this is the way how we can bring visitors also to the off the beaten track areas, you know, also to the places that maybe are not, let's say in Slovenia we say Golden Triangle, Bled Lake, then we have Postojna Caves and Ljubljana, the capital. But when they join us on online guided tours, we present them also these hidden corners and they say, oh, I would like to go there. So I think that we are helping tourism to grow in a more sustainable way. So this is something that we definitely need to work together. Also the carrying capacity, you know, of the destinations, we have lots of problems, especially in high seasons. So if you do the online guided tours, you can present that in many different seasons, like spring, autumn, summer, winter. And then travelers decide to come whenever they think it's going to be best for them. So definitely, I think it's going to help to grow tourism in the future as well, in more fair way.
One more comment about the connection between the public sector and the private sector. Eyal, maybe you have something to say about that, or Abe, yeah? And if you guys over there, if you have something to say about that, I will be happy. Abe, maybe you want to add something? Again, public sector and private sector.
So Mateja said it absolutely well. That not only has virtual tourism proven that it's able to preserve the past apparatus of tourism and maintain guides and their abilities to guide. It also prepares for the day after COVID, when you're preparing for groups to come to the land of Israel. For one of our clients, the Museum of the Bible, they were doing virtual tours through us, and then they finally said, wait, why don't we use this as a tool to advertise our physical tours coming to Israel? We said, of course, I mean, any day. So there were really huge opportunities to sort of integrate virtual tourism within the existing apparatus. It doesn't have to, also like Liana said, it doesn't have to be in place of one another. Rather, they serve one another at the end of the day, and they build even a greater structure than what was there before.
Good. Anything else over here? Yes, Annie, go ahead.
So I've personally spoken to about over 100 virtual travelers that I've on Heygo. So literally had one-on-one 30-minute chats with over 100 of people that, you know, Liana or Mateja, that you've kind of had on your tour. And I've seen three common profiles. The first one is just a curious individual that is looking to learn something new. So kind of like the binge watcher. Two, it's an individual that wants to reminisce about a past trip or somewhere they've previously lived. Three, they're planning their next trip, which Liana is kind of the place that you're kind of coming from. So my perspective is, from like the Heygo perspective, is I think virtual tourism does go hand in hand with the global tourism industry. Through COVID, I think virtual tourism has created a more defined market where individuals are essentially searching for a substitute for traveling, which has spearheaded the demand and the need for people to say, hey, can I go to this place without leaving my home? So the best example I can give from the people that I spoke to is I actually spoke to a woman that was part of a church group community. And it was a group of ladies that would meet once a week. And what they started doing was they would talk about the virtual tours that they had been on that week. And they had created a community about the places that they had been. But the only reason why they stumbled on Heygo in the first place was because they canceled their Greece trip that they go on annually for the past 2 years due to COVID. So the first trip that they went on was Greece and Athens. And their first debrief, you know, ladies group thing was talking about this, reminiscing about this trip to Greece. So, you know, think book club, but for virtual tours. This is essentially what this late group of ladies has basically manifested. It wasn't the only one. I've seen multiple iterations of this. So, you know, the rest was kind of history. You started with what you wanted to travel. It was the need to travel that made you stumble on virtual tourism. So in addition, kind of what I've seen on the guide front, like minus the user front, I've seen guides do both in person and virtual tours. And it's a balance of both. Both need to be scheduled, both need to be planned. Virtual tours is very fundamentally a little bit different than in person because users can only see this, you know, in person can see this. So you can you have to get a little bit creative on the planning front to really understand that you don't have that, 180 pan, but it's actually just that square from your screen and what that looks like. So I think what virtual tourism has really provided for guides is it's a diversification opportunity for in-person guiding. And at the end of the day, it costs close to nothing, depending on what platform you want to go with. Doing it independently would be a little bit more difficult, but if you want to explore like the types of platforms like Heygo, beeyonder, who's on this call, you have nothing to lose but to try to amass like essentially a global audience.
Cool.
Itamar, can I add one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
So one of the things that I think has been really interesting, and I know we spoke about somebody mentioned the synergy between the virtual and the real tours, but I think one of the really interesting things, and again, looking at Israel as a specific example, is that virtual tourism has allowed those of us in the industry who are doing it the opportunity to showcase so many destinations that unfortunately most people, when they come to Israel, do not go and see. There's always that, top list that first timers go to, and that is still the majority of sites that people go to. But I have to say, in our experience, what we are seeing is that the people who have joined these tours have said time and time again, they never would have gone to the Negev desert. They never would have learned about the cultural diversity, the Druze, the Muslims, the Circassians, the Christians of the Holy Land. They never would have gone up to the Golan Heights. They wouldn't have gone into, maybe Jericho or Nablus or Hebron had it not been for these virtual tours. They would not have gone on the Nabatean spice route, and they wouldn't have walked on the Israel Trail or the Golan Trail or the Sea to Sea Trail. There are so many experiences, that most people will have not taken that have visited Israel. So what I see as a real benefit to virtual tourism is if you go back to 2019, you say, hey, in our destination, we had 4.6 million people that visited Israel. Unfortunately, most of them were in Jerusalem and in the Galilee. So we now have an opportunity to actually decompress. There's so much compression historically in those areas, and we didn't have enough rooms. Now it's really opening up the country to take people to many other destinations as we continue to do these types of programs in places that most people don't go to. So hopefully in the future, we will be able to see many, many more numbers of people because they're going to be wanting to see other places in Israel, and they won't be in a position that they can't get rooms because they're going to be going to places that are not as currently in demand. So I think that's a really good thing overall.
Absolutely. I'm going to move to Eyal with the last question, and then we'll maybe have some final remarks, and we'll close the session officially, but you're allowed to stay here, and our friend here will stay also for maybe to take some questions if they are able to stay. This is it. During 2020, we were filling out the forms for the labor department just to get our unemployment or stuff like that as a guide, and saying that as a guide, and to get different benefits that we got throughout COVID. And we were bored, and we did all kinds of stuff. And one experiment led to the next, and we ultimately got to do cross-border experiences with 2, 3, 4 guides in different countries, connecting all kinds of destinations and really creating the story of mankind. Elisa just mentioned the spice routes, for example, from the Arabian Peninsula all the way to Gaza port. So we are able to do amazing stuff. But this was still like kind of a game back in 2020. Then in 2021, we saw that, okay, virtual tourism is here to stay. People know how to do that. They do it very, very well. People are interested in it. Okay, so not in the same volume, maybe like in the intervals between, if there is more, if there's a COVID wave, for example, there is more demand. If everything is open, there's the less demand maybe. But all in all, in 2021, we saw that virtual tourism has life of its own. Now in 2022, I see that, and I think our friends here shared this opinion with me. In 2022, as COVID is becoming a part of our new normal, what is the future of this hybrid tourism? Of how do we combine legacy tourism with virtual tourism? Because most of the people that are in legacy tourism don't really share this opinion with us. They think, oh, it's just a phase, okay, this info. But at the same time, before we had this panel, we had bloggers and influencers online. So I'm like saying, basically, it's the same stuff. Okay, it's really the same stuff. So 2022 will be the year, the way I see it, that we're going to create this hybrid tourism, in-person tours and virtual tours at the same time. So, yeah, I would like to hear you, what is the future of this hybrid industry? And
Well,
I remind you just keep the
yes,
mic. Yeah,
I will do my best.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, indeed, this is the most important question here and biggest challenge. As I see it, I think I strongly believe that there is a need for standardization in the market of virtual tours. And the market force will lead to that in some way, meaning many platforms, many technologies, we all see that, they are all amazing. And this is leading us to the point that it might be confusing from one side to the audience, on the other side, to the clients themselves, meaning the sites themselves or the countries that we would like to set the synergy, the correct synergy with the actual visit and the virtual visit. This is a line that we all need to think of in a smart way. I will give you an example. We are addressing clients, museums worldwide, trying to sell our platform as an OEM solution for them. Meaning you can buy the services of Dive, you as a museum, and use it for your own museum for tours, for virtual tours. And of course, there is always the say that it might replace the actual visit site in some cases. In other cases, they say, okay, now I'm exposed to, 500,000 pre-COVID numbers of visitors. I'm about to reach 4 times more than the actual visit on site. How do I combine that correctly with my vision regarding pre-tour, regarding post-tour, meaning people will arrive to the site, would like to learn more, or how do I set it correctly with all the various elements in order to achieve the actual performance of the system and to gain my profit out of it. This is the main challenge. We do not have the clear answer to that. Time will tell, and we all need to come up with a solution to that. This is in terms of an actual one microsite somewhere, let's say in Israel, and this relates also for governments. Let's take the Israel, for example. Once the Israel Tourism Office will actually understand the benefit, the potential from the marketing aspect of virtual tours in terms of actual visit on site, then we really will lead us forward in standardization, in financing, in marketing tools, and this will bring us a few steps forward.
Okay, fantastic. Go ahead, my friend, Camille.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely agree virtual tours is a great marketing tool. I'm looking at it with a perspective of, Beyonder's core mission, which is to provide equal access to travel. So our market remains the same pre and post pandemic. Those who could not travel pre still cannot travel post pandemic, even if borders are opening and COVID restrictions are easing up. So the virtual tours are still providing access to these locations, that people wouldn't be able to travel to otherwise, which is great because you're bringing in revenue that otherwise wouldn't be accessible because these people aren't actually traveling. And marketing tool, we offer pre-trip planning and providing connections for people who do actually want to travel in person. But I think countries should look at it as a way, another source of income that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see.
Fantastic. Yeah, anyone else? How the hybrid tourism is going to look like? How the legacy tourism is connecting to virtual tourism? Yeah, go ahead, Annie.
So from my perspective, again, from the perspective of Heygo, the more guides that participate in virtual tourism, the better chances this new emerging sector has at defining what users around the world wants. Yeah. Because the more users you have, the more information we can collect, essentially what types of features they'd like. How would do they want a notebook? Do they want to log the information that they're, providing? So by iterating essentially what the market wants, we're creating a feedback loop that naturally feeds into in real life tours. So in our case, we have guides, I know in Machu Picchu, Germany, and Iceland that have been hired to do in real life tours because of the tours that they've live streamed in the past 1.5 years on Heygo. That being said, Heygo is only an interesting place for a user to explore when they realize that there are so many unique places that they can visit from all around the world on one single website. So on Elisa, like on your model, you have these like off the beaten path type adventures that if someone's very passionate about Israel, they know that they want to come to you because you've got this plethora of types of experiences that you maybe won't find on Heygo, because Heygo is a completely different vertical. But if you've decided to take a complete niche and say, let's go all around Israel and take people that are very passionate about Israel, that's kind of the space that you've created. But for users that come to us, they land on Heygo and they see they can go to Jerusalem, but then they can go to Shanghai, then they can go to New York City, and then Paris all on the same day. So, but on our end, without the supply of guides internationally, we wouldn't have anything to offer to users. So it's very much like a chicken and egg problem when you have a marketplace. So on our end, it's extremely difficult to find excellent one-off tours. So by creating almost like a centralized place where these types of experience takes place, all of a sudden you have access to an international community that is predisposed to essentially an interest in traveling virtually, and then kind of manifesting that through network effects and building out that space. It can feed into the in real life tours just based off of an interest of a traveler that had no interest in going to Germany, but they met a guide that they really liked, that they connected with. Actually, the one that came to my mind, Elisa, was actually a Jewish lady in North America. She was like, I hate Germany. And then I went on Martin's tour and I fell in love with Martin and all of his, beautiful nooks and crannies and information that he gave about the Jewish quarter. And that kind of really inspired her to schedule a tour with Martin with her family, because of the information that was shared on that tour that actually inspired her to go. So there's a beautiful connection between sharing beautiful details and stories within a region, whether it's culturally associated, whether it's part of your heritage or your lineage or your story, or if it's just a predisposed interest to a location. So I've definitely seen that on my side.
Fantastic. And Annie, maybe one question for you. If, let's say, Heygo has all this data right now about the interest of the virtual travelers, you can just answer me yes or no. Do you think this data can be useful for the legacy tourism?
It's a really great question, because it's a fine line. Like when you're a business, you're not going to open up everything in terms of data side that you would provide. But what I'm thinking is, I'll speak to what we've done on our end. So we try to provide as much information to our guides in terms of timings and schedulings based off of interest. And we're trying to figure out, based off of watch patterns for users, for example, how do we take watch patterns for users? And let's use Jerusalem as an example. Is there a trend that we're seeing for users that come to Jerusalem? Is it predominantly people in Toronto? Is it predominantly people in New York City? And then you can start pinging geographic addresses to specific people and then comping people. So in my opinion, the future of virtual travelism kind of stems from pieces like that, where you can say, how much information can I extract from the people that are coming onto my virtual tours? And then if I was a guide, I'd work my way backwards and say, how do I get more of those people? So on Heygo, we're essentially trying to create that space that provides information, as much granular information as we can, but we're still growing. So there's an element of, there's a lot of things we want to do. But as time obviously goes by, we are building out more and more feature sets. So the short answer is yes. I think it will naturally feed into legacy, but it's that iteration of the feedback loop of how do we provide success? Our bottom line is, we want to bring the world to people from home, but we also want to help guides make money, you know, so, well, you wouldn't do it if you weren't taking care of yourself. It's a livelihood for you, and it's a respectable livelihood. You are storytellers. Like, a guide is a storyteller, and no matter which way, you know, in my mind, you're a storyteller, you're not a guide. So you need to be compensated for your time. So, and if that means feeding into in real life tours, then we need to figure out a way to keep that loop going, because the two do intertwine. It's just a matter of figuring out the balance between the two.
Thank you very much. And final remarks before we finish the official part of the session. If any of you needs to go, it's fine, and we'll stay here. If there are any questions, we'll take some questions. But there you go. If you have any final remarks, yes, Elisa.
I really learned a lot from some of the other panelists here today, and I do just want to say that I do think that virtual tourism is absolutely here. I think it is an incredible marketing tool, an incredible way to open up a destination and showcase new places, and can certainly reach not just people, you know, different individuals around the world, but groups and organizations and certainly stakeholders, and to educate stakeholders. Like, we've worked a lot with different tourism companies, different travel agents and tour operators, and people who are actually planning the tours, the B2B, to explain to them how much Israel offers and the types of experiences that they can have. And, you know, as you mentioned, this is, you know, obviously some of the work of the tourism industry, but we are really a private sector business. So we're, you know, we can work for, you know, more and more with the government to expand on this, because I don't think there's a better tool that could be used to really promote a destination than virtual tourism. And yeah, certainly there will always be more people, I think, that will travel virtually, certainly as the experience improves and becomes much more, you know, interactive, you know, over time, because let's face it, this is still very much in the early stages. It's really only been a couple of years, and what we see now is not going to be what we were seeing, you know, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It'll be something else entirely. But at the end of the day, you know, we can reach a lot of people, and every destination can promote itself so much more using this tool.
Really, yes. Any other final remarks? Welcome.
I would just I'd just like to add, you know, Itamar, because you already asked me before, so I will definitely also deliver in the future those online guided tours, because the target market is there, schools, special groups, you know, that they can travel only virtually, and they're really nicely paid tours, by the way. So I'm happy that they are there, and especially because I can combine in-person and online, you know, because of the time difference and so on. However, I would also like to stress out the advantage for us tourist guides, namely when we get reviews from these tours that we deliver, then we see what online travelers, but most probably also in-person travelers, are impressed about. You know, what are these wow moments that we should also include in our in-person tours? Because, you know, we tourist guides, we are local. So for us, it's all like a kind of normal. However, if we get this feedback from our online travelers, then of course we can include that in our in-person tours. So because of online tours, also our in-person tours are much better. So I
agree, and I must say that virtual tourism turned me into a much better guide. Yeah, I can say that for sure. Liana or Camille or Abe, yeah.
I guess as a remark, one of the things we found really challenging within this field is the technology that exists within the virtual tourism market. Many times there's limitations. For example, if you're trying to lead a group here in Israel for the United States, you usually have to lead your group in the evening hours when the sun's already gone down, and there's really not much to show. You can walk into the streets, which are fairly well lit, but then you have those limitations as well. And like Ani was mentioning as well, you're trying to look left, you're trying to look right, but all you can see is straight and center. So I believe that the major jump in this field will be the development of better and better technology that's working with the visitors, it's working with the guides. One of the areas that we're trying out basically within Dive, and we're testing, is essentially the area of developing technology that permits visitors to visit the site at all times of the day using 3D models. It's completely, we're sort of the odd one out of this panel, because most people here use the video guidance. But I think that there's a way of finding hybrid models within there as well. But essentially, I think that the technology within this field is just scratching the surface of what's possible in the future, both within the video guiding world, within the 3D model world, within the ability to just share content left and right to visitors all around the globe and have it be experiential, personal, and tailor-made for their uses.
Camille or Liana, anything, last thoughts? You're okay? So I'll just say that I want to thank our dear panelists, and maybe a round of applause to the ladies over here and to Abe. So really, I have to thank you. And I do think that, like you said, like better technologies, there's much more to move forward with technologies. We have lots of tech people in our, kind of think tank. The Israeli think tank has lots of tech people as well. I do think that there is one thing that we didn't discuss now so much, but cross-border experiences is really something that we need to develop. Like Mateja is in Slovenia, I'm in Israel, but there are lots of stories that connect, that we can kind of have one session between these two places, sessions that are going through, we mentioned the spice routes, for example, earlier, Herzl's journey, Jesus in the footsteps of Jesus, not just in Israel, but also his disciples in other parts of the Mediterranean. Greece, exactly, Athens, Greece and Asia Minor and Italy, etc. There's much, the Sephardic heritage that is going all over the world, for example, Jewish Sephardic heritage. So this is, again, something that I see that will move forward this year and the next year, years to come. So first of all, officially, we finished the session. I want to thank our dear panelists. I want to thank Abe and Eyal, and I'm opening it for questions. If anyone has to leave, then it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yes, Brian. יש לו, איפה עידו? יש לנו מיקרופון בשבילו? כן, הנה, הוא מביא לך את המיקרופון שלך. Yes.
First of all, thank you very much for your knowledge. It was fascinating hearing about the future. Secondly, I think the most important question I had is, where is the best business model in the world for now? Who is succeeding of selling content as a promo or as the real thing?
This is the first question that you should ask before we started.
Because as a marketeer and the one that was marketing Tower of David Museum and many other museums here and abroad, this is the real question. So to have more expenses for digital guides, it's great. And it's a great promo and it's great campaigns, but you need more than campaigns. So 100%. To sell a promo, it's good because you're going to have visitors. But to sell a tour for handicapped people, it's really important. Or to sell a guided tour with this guy in it. It's really important. So
sign language, he meant.
Maybe when you spoke about standardization, we should find a global movement for handicapped people and to start there, to have a promo, and then to have some engaged tours. And there is another thing. I used to be the consul for the Ministry of Tourism before the year 2000 here. One of the problems was accessibility. You couldn't get into the rotunda of the Holy Sepulchre for more than 600,000 people a day, a year. You can't have more than that. So we have now, or we had 4 million tourists. More than half of them were Christians who would like to visit there, though they couldn't. So a virtual tour will do great. The same with the Eiffel Tower. The same, I was in Barcelona. I couldn't get to the cathedral. It was too crowded for me. So I think those certain places is crying for a solution and not for a campaign or not for a new imaging of hybrid imaging.
Yeah, no, I think that's...
So where is the best place who have done it perfectly? I think it's in the museums. Maybe it's the expo. I don't know. I would like to hear our specialists.
Yeah. So you want to answer that?
Thank you.
The idea is to grow the capacity, that's for sure. Go ahead, Elisa.
Well, again, I'm not going to say it's been an amazing business model, but so far it's only been a couple of years. But We did open up a site. We marketed to individuals first. Like I said at the beginning, we marketed just really to individuals whose tours couldn't materialize. Obviously, initially it was free. After about 2 months, we developed a real platform where people actually paid $20 to go on a tour. We developed over time. I think our client list now is probably just from paid tours is probably over a couple of thousand people who actually paid for tours. Honestly, we had people who came back every single week. Itamar can vouch for it, and they created. I think it was not Ani, somebody else. I think it was Mateja who talked about like a group of people who would come back every single week. They never knew each other. These guys didn't know each other, and they kind of developed this fellowship. And they've been and they're still talking about coming back on a tour together. We again, I mean, there's small amounts of money, and then on top of it, some people would tip, but they were always paid for tours, these weekly tours that we had, and also for organizations that want, again, that's a whole B2B model for organizations and for companies and who want to be able to offer these kinds of programs, or for virtual birthday parties or other ways to connect people. So I do think that there's somewhat of a model, as I personally, haven't totally perfected it, but certainly have proven that people will pay for something that is an immersive experience that changes their life. And again, I'm talking only about Israel. This was, very in-depth, very interactive, a lot of back and forth, asking questions, very personal. And yes, people paid for that experience, and we got a lot of emails, and they still do.
Well, I'll also chime in there, very similar to you, Elisa. So the example I want to use is Iceland. Back in March of 2021, the volcano was erupting in Iceland, and our guide, Albert had done a tour of it, of a 4-hour stream hike, his entire experience. I think it was like over 700, 800 people were on that tour. Wow. I would say it was a very engaging chat. He was very well compensated for his time, based off of the amount of excitement and the community's engagement on it. I think it was the following week he rented a helicopter and he streamed the volcano erupting from a helicopter for Heygoers. And again, that was based off of the success of his initial tour. Wow. So I'm not saying, Mateja, you're going to be doing a helicopter tour in Slovenia. That's not what I'm saying. But based off of the content that is available at that time, in real time, that is engaging, that engages a global audience, and that there's a predisposed interest of sort, I think, to answer your question in brief, which is like, which is the winning platform? I don't think there is a winning platform per se. I think there is a winning guide that is very innovative, that thinks about opportunities that are coming, that are very engaged storytellers, that then say, based off of the story that I want to tell, where can I find a community that will engage with that story? And then working backwards based off of the way you position yourself, you will decide what is the best fit for you based off of the community that you want to engage in. So one other piece I would think about is like Facebook groups. I don't really use Facebook, to be honest, but I'm a part of an Armenian cooking channel in a Facebook group of like 100,000 people. And it baffles my mind that people post like hundreds of posts a day about like Armenian food recipes. And there's like a whole community of people that do it. It's funny, but it's not, there's a bunch of people that it's like their bread and butter. So if I wanted to go to take a look at like Armenian food recipes, how to make each, or how to make borani or whatever, I know I can find it within this place. And there's a bunch of people that will go about it. So in my mind, the thing that I'm trying to solve is located here. And then I know that there's this engaged community. The problem is if there is no engaged community, if you're starting from scratch, that is a different story. Because then you have to figure out.
That's the key word, community. Building community. Mateja, maybe you're the last one, and we'll have to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, because really, don't think just in the limitations of the platform. For example, Heygo, I use as a promotion for my tours, right? For example, I have a customer and they would like to see how I'm doing this. And then I say, oh, just join this tour tomorrow and you will see what you would like to be included. And then we organize private online tour. And those customers, believe me, they are ready to pay me or us guides well, they are ready to pay entrance fee. Of course, they don't pay the same amount as if they were in person. But we agree. I say, I don't know, National Museum, just please pay, I don't know, €1 per person for this visit, or the church, or the private house, you know, because there are lots of private houses that you cannot visit in person, but they would like to see because it was done by a special architect, Jože Plečnik, for example, UNESCO Heritage, and so on. So, you know, there is a lot of ways to communicate to different audience, like people who are following evening courses. They are usually people who have enough money, you know, and if they will get a service like this, believe me, they are ready to pay. So let's go ahead. Let's go a step ahead.
Woo! Guys, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this panel, I must say. And all these friends that I collected over these 2 years is just such a blessing for me. And now they're not so virtual anymore. I can touch them. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mateja and Annie and Elisa, for your time. For Camille and Liana that had to leave. It's fine. And thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Itamar. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Have
Bye.
fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the show. Bye.
Abe, call us when you get in your car.